start to put tension on my string drawback, I was like, okay, I'm gonna smoke.
It's him. You can look at the horns when he's dead. I'm in the zone. Let the arrow go. It's perfect.
So when they lose their front shoulders, you start, that's how you know they're smoking.
Went about 5-10 more yards. We probably went 20 yards to a little tip, then we would try to get back up. And I saw him pull up.
We rushed 4 meters rods that night. We got like 156 and something like that, and then the next day we came up to 163 even.
You're listening to the White Cat Outdoors podcast, bringing you to the table where we talk about the outdoors.
Episode 140. Here we go. It is. You did say it was 140?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can 140 in, you can never remember, even if I tell you right before.
Yeah, but you questioned it for a second, and you're like, is it 140?
Debatable.
So, this 140th episode of the White Cat Outdoors
I think we should start
podcast
calling it
is
installments.
Installments. 140th installment.
Leave in the comments if that's what you like.
Well, once we get our new intro, we'll start calling
them
it
installments.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And
So,
none of you have reached out to us, so shame
not to
on
point
you.
any fingers,
but
yeah. So, as you heard, me, Nick, and Tom are all sitting here. Tom's been here and there lately, but nothing going on. Well, you had a little bit going on today, so we pushed it back so you could be here.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, what we're talking about tonight, really.
Yeah.
It pertains to it. So, Tom, what was so important that you had to push the podcast back today? I was with you.
Yeah, Nick was with me. We had to hang a stand, and I tell you what, it's beauty.
So let's. I think it's better that we jump to the end and then back to the beginning. No,
Periodically referring to the middle.
So last year, Tom and I both hunted obviously this whole piece, but in this vicinity last year, and both of us had picked this certain tree that sounds absolutely perfect or looks perfect. I said sound because you tapped that mic.
I was just seeing those on.
No, so Tom and I both really liked this tree. It was in the perfect position, right off of water. So it's no scent coming in. There's bedding. There's
you can
food.
walk the creek there. You can.
It's like 2 steps out of the creek and you're on a stick.
Nice.
So that's really nice. But the problem is the base of this tree. It's a common base tree. It's massive. There's no way you can get your strap around it for probably 2 sticks, I would say.
Really?
It's a big tree, and it branches off in a couple different ways. And so neither of us could hunt it. But last year, him and I both were like, "Man, this looks like a really good spot.
We need to hunt this spot."
Yeah. So we would pick less than ideal trees because that's what we could do. So Tom came up with the idea. Said, "Hey, let's hang a stand there." So
And let me just
Go ahead.
paint the picture. So you walk down this creek bottom, and this creek bottom goes through the middle of this high, I don't even know if it's like goldenrods and pricker bush. It's thick, nasty, and it's loaded,
pretty much impenetrable if you were to try and walk through the first half of it.
Yeah, loaded with apple trees. So it's just perfect deer bedding, which I don't really love walking through the bedding, but you can walk through the creek so you're not
Traipsing through the tall shit.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a morning spot, and when you get in there to hunt it, you're going to want to sit there early, well before dark, and hunt it all day. Mm-hmm. I think it's just going to be one of those spots. So you walk this creek all the way to the tip of the swamp, and you climb up in the tree, and right underneath you, there's this big stagnant water hole. I think deer are going to come there, obviously, to drink. About 25 yards to the north, there's a giant oak tree, and there's this perfect limb that comes off, and it hangs, right above this
Perfect
flat,
scraping branch.
Yeah, it's a perfect scraping branch. And then probably about 27 yards to the northeast, there's a giant apple tree, just absolutely loaded with apples. So you're tucked up in this big maple. You got an oak tree out to the front of you. You got apple tree, kitty corner that. You got a big watering hole basically right underneath you. And it's surrounded by this thick, high, tall grass and prickers and
What did we see while hanging the stand?
deer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're bedded right where we thought they would be and right where they were last year.
Nice. That's going to be a sweet spot.
Yeah. I think I might try it early archery season.
Just dip your toes in.
Yeah, and then I'm going to let her go till the rut.
Yeah, I told Tommy because like I hunted pretty close to that. Basically, the buck I saw last year opening day, I'm pretty sure was bedded there because he came from there, and then went back to there. So I wouldn't doubt it if that's where he's bedded. And then later on in the season, I saw him down in there again chasing does around. So I know that that's where they're bedded. And at least one, I think 2 different deer came out of there this evening when we were hanging the stand. So I know it's getting used pretty heavily, and there's trails like running all through there too.
Yeah.
So
Right on.
It's a little bit closer, tight quarters to the bedding than I normally like to get, but it's just one of those spots that...
it's one of those, like, if you are going to be that close to bedding, I think it's best to have a preset though, because it's
you can just
so much
get up
simpler.
dead silent in 5 seconds.
Yeah, you can literally walk through the creek the entire way there from the road.
Yeah, you can literally come off the road
Into
and
the creek. And
walk through like shin to knee high water the whole way, just real slow, quiet. Yeah, and I think it's like 2 steps off the bank, if that.
that's nice.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be awesome. I'm really
excited
super
for you.
stoked for it. And then I moved a tree stand, what was that, Monday?
Yeah, I think it was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
2 days ago.
And I took a page out of the old Mike Perry handbook. And I did it intentionally, unintentionally. I'll explain here in a second. So my granddad had hung this ladder stand, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I could tell, it was in a good spot. But for archery, there was nothing that said, okay, the deer are going to be within 20, 25 yards of this stand. I knew they were going to be using this flat, but I just didn't know how they were going to be using it. So I'm like, I'm going to walk around here and try and find, the spot where I think this stand needs to be. So I'm walking around, and I come across this deer trail. And it's a highway through these ferns, and it's like hip-high ferns, a total dead patch worn right down to mud about a foot wide, and then hip-high ferns. So they're cutting right through here. I'm like, this is the trail I want to hunt.
that trail creek or goes over the creek. You had mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm getting
Okay,
there.
you're getting okay.
Why
Thought you were
Why don't you
skipping over.
shut up, Nick.
Yeah. So I find this trail and I'm saying, okay, this is the trail I want to hunt. So I'm looking around. I'm like, there's not a tree that I can hang this ladder in. So I'm like, I'm just going to walk down this trail and see if I can find something worth hanging a tree in, or hanging a ladder in. So I follow this deer trail down and it goes right to the creek. And if you listen to our Mike Perry episode, he had talked about how deer really like to cross creeks where there's a bend. And it's because the water goes around that bend and it brings a lot of
Deposits all the silt.
and deposits it all there, makes it shallow around that bend. And you could see the big pile of grit that Mike was talking about, and there was that deer trail cutting it in half, crossing right at that bend, right where it's nice and shallow. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, because I remembered talking to Mike about that.
Yeah, it's always cool when you hear people talking about stuff, then you go see it, and you can make the connection and say, okay, that's exactly what they were talking
Yeah,
about.
and we all have seen deer trails cross over creeks, but I don't think any of us have ever looked at it that intently to understand that.
Why are they
Yeah, why are they
crossing right
crossing
there?
here? And then when Mike broke that open, it was like, oh no shit, and like Tom said, it was exactly as he had said, and worked out really well.
Yeah, so I found a tree probably 10 yards off the edge of the creek, right off the edge of the creek, but it's going to be an 18-yard shot right to that trail where they're crossing. It's going to be perfect. So I'm super excited about that. I had to move it 15, 20 yards from where it originally was. So still in the
In the
same
vicinity.
general area, but I just feel a lot more... I know had I hunted where my grandpa hung it, I would have been sitting up there and all these deer would have been crossing 40 yards in front of me.
Yeah.
So,
Which, granted, Grandpa hunts with a crossbow
yeah.
and puts them. It's a little bit easier shot than most of us are comfortable with a compound. So
Yeah.
you got to be a little bit more picky when it comes to stand placement with a compound in your hand.
Yeah, no doubt.
But beyond, this is almost game time. This is just late preseason prep, basically.
Yeah, doing your last minute things.
We just got the last of our food plots in pretty recently.
Yeah.
Which I do want. Another thing I want to do is I have some cell cams up that I placed strictly for inventory, just see what we have. But I want to move some of them onto these trails that I'm going to be hunting.
Yeah, I need to move a couple. I moved 2 cameras last week, and I need to move 3 more this coming week. I want to move them around a little bit.
Yeah, I got one for sure that I want to move, and I might actually pick up another camera just to. There's a few different trails that I'd like to survey and keep tabs on.
Yeah, definitely. And it's we're getting right down to it. I saw my first hardhorn buck the other day, which I was very surprised. I shouldn't say very surprised, but I was surprised that he had like nothing left. He had just a little bit of bacon hanging on the one spot.
Was the rack red? Like, was it fresh?
Red-ish. It wasn't like blood red when they first start raking it all off, but it had that red tint to it. Because I looked out in the field and he was probably 150 yards away. And I was like, oh, that's a buck. It wasn't a giant, it was just a basket 8. And so I could see that he had horns from the distance, but I was like, oh, I'll pull the binos out, see what he looks like. And as soon as I pulled the binos up, I could see he was nice and pointed already, and I was like, wow, he's shed. Then I looked a little closer, and I could see that he had just a little bit of velvet left that was just hanging there. So they're getting hard. They're all done growing, and I mean, most of them still have velvet on, but they're not growing anymore.
Yeah, the peak growing season's gone and past.
Yeah, so they're gonna be all hard-horned here pretty quick.
Another thing Tom and I have been doing, prepping for the season, we've been doing a lot of spotting at night, just cruising the fields within 2-3 miles of where we hunt, just a few blocks in the area, and trying to just, it's more or less inventory of what's in the area. I don't think, at least in my opinion, there might be somebody out there that's got it figured out better than we do, but I seem to look at spotting as something to just get inventory of what's in the area.
Tool.
Not necessarily for me. I mean, there's probably ways to maybe start connecting dots.
Yeah. You need more than just spotting, though. You need a lot of other pieces.
You need to know what the properties look like that you're seeing these bucks in.
It's tough to. I mean, if you're hunting or spotting at 10 o'clock at night, who knows where that buck's at 5 o'clock? Yeah,
exactly. So. Yeah, I haven't done a ton of spotting yet. I've on my way home, if it's dark, I'll throw the light out the window, but I haven't. I want to do some actual spotting missions, go out and really look around hard.
I remember when we were little, my dad used to take us when we were kids all the time. I mean, that was like a big thing leading up to the season.
Gas was like $1.50 a gallon.
Yeah, it does get expensive.
Tougher to justify when it's almost $5 a gallon.
But I mean, one thing that's really tough right now is there's a lot of bean fields and corn too, but the beans
you can spot beans.
But if they're bedded. Yeah, you better have a sharp eye through those binos to pick out some tines. Yeah, because just the other night we were coyote hunting actually, and we were walking along the edge of this field that was beans, and we got within 15 yards of this doe. Yeah, and she was bedded, and all you could see was the tips of her ears. That was it. And it was. And she never even got up. That was what was wild. We walked right beside her, and she was good. They can totally disappear in beans if they're not standing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Luckily, their tines will give them away.
Mm-hmm. But most of the time when they're in beans, they're usually walking around or interacting with each other.
We've seen a pretty nice buck just bedded under some trees, 50 yards off the road. Mm-hmm. In mowed grass. Yeah. He was just bedded underneath a tree. And
the one property that I hunt, I haven't been getting anything on it. It's been kind of disheartening, and I didn't really plan on hunting it much this year, if at all, but I know my dad likes to hunt it a lot, and we haven't been getting shit on it. And one of our buddies the other day showed me some pictures of a neighboring block that has a couple nice bucks in it. So hopefully those are frequenting our area as well. So
Well, I know bucks live somewhere different throughout different stages of the year. Like they have
Yeah.
their summer home, their fall home, their winter home. And we've been hunting out at my dad's farm. I think this is year 3.
Yeah, this will be year 3.
And I've noticed throughout the years, we have had one really big buck in velvet. Mm-hmm. I think that there's so much corn and beans surrounding us that they don't summer on our property, which that's
they
fine
have a
with
lot
me.
of reason to be elsewhere before the season.
Yeah, but as soon as the farmers cut their corn and their beans, which is usually mid to late September, our cameras start blowing up with big hardhorn bucks.
Yeah.
So you hear a lot of people talking, oh, okay, I got all these big bucks in velvet, and then where do they go come archery season?
They go to Tom's property.
I would much rather have it, I'm not seeing shit on camera during the summer,
Yeah.
and then come October, okay,
You're
now I'm
rolling in
seeing
them.
a lot of bucks.
Yeah.
I would much rather have that than
Yeah, it's better
seeing
to
them
be
all.
disheartened before the season than during the season.
Yeah. Because I know there's, some properties that I have hunted that all summer long you get giants in velvet.
Yeah.
And then come October, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, in the last couple of years, and it doesn't seem to matter, like the neighboring properties, whether it's corn or beans, it's the same deal. I think in the summertime, these bucks are
Well, there's
staying-
enough farms out there that there's typically a mix of.
Yeah, but
corn
I'm
and
saying
beans.
like the adjoining property or adjacent
Connecting.
properties or connecting properties. They've switched between corn and beans in the last couple of years, but it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. At least from what I'm inferring, is that these bucks are staying pretty close to those ag fields.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of bedding through there.
Oh yeah, they can bed in corn and beans like you were just saying.
Yeah.
They can disappear in beans. So
Yeah, so I just don't think that there's any need for them to travel right now.
Yeah,
If they
but-
stay close to food, there's no real
Yeah.
hunting pressure. There's no chasing.
yeah.
Why?
But once that stuff's all gone, you guys have a lot of bedding. You have apples that are going
Lot
to
of
be
oaks.
falling
Lot
off.
of
the-
oaks.
Yeah. So you have acorns and apples that are going to be on the ground
Beech nuts.
all the way through the end of October, November. So
Yeah.
they know that stuff's going to be there for them to eat and bed in 2 months.
The acorn crop is ridiculous this year. I don't know.
Especially
If,
on the white oaks.
that's just mainly the white
Yeah.
oaks. I don't know if you've noticed that.
We don't really have, because I've been spending all my time at that one piece that got logged, so there's pretty much nothing up there for me to gauge,
Your
nut
oak crop.
crop and stuff like that.
But yeah, I've noticed big time. Like white oaks are.
Really dropping.
Yeah, which I know. So a few years ago, this happened, where like white oaks were exceptionally fruitful, and the one,
Nutful.
nutful. I think acorn it's probably not considered a fruit, is it?
I like to call them oak nuts. It's kind of fun.
Kind of fun.
It's kind of fun.
Usually gets like one chuckle.
But I remember we put a bunch of food plots in throughout the property, and the
Did you plant
acorn.
any oak nuts?
No, I did not. But there was so many like acorns in the timber that like our food plots were like not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like we pretty much everybody that was hunting there ditched food plots because the deer were just in the timber, because like it was like walking on marbles.
Yeah.
Like I mean that without exaggeration, that it was walking on marbles, especially like the actual trails going through there. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, but it did. I will admit, it made it difficult to predict because
Yeah.
they were everywhere. It's not like a food plot where I put a little
You
clover
focus it.
here, a little buckwheat over there, little beans over here. Like it was just acorns everywhere.
Yeah.
1,000 acres worth.
Yeah, I mean legit. It was rough. I think some big bucks died that year though,
Oh, yeah.
so we got it done. But it's just another. I think it's important information. I think you obviously don't want to be trudging through your property every day leading up to the season, but I think it's really important for preparing for the season to see what kind of food sources you have on your property.
Yeah, especially stuff like that differs year to year.
Yeah,
You
that's-
could have a really good apple crop this year and shit for acorns, and then next year you'll have a lot of acorns or fewer apples, or you won't have either one. It might be a shit year for both, and
Yeah,
your
I
food
think
plots are
it's-
going to be hot. So
Yeah, I think it's important, just just because you know what types of trees are on your property, I think it's important to know going into the season how well that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, anyone can say, "Oh yeah, I've got oak trees," but I mean, there's been years that I've seen that there's hardly any acorns.
Yeah. I've
So-
definitely seen that too.
So your oak tree's not really doing you much on
Yeah.
those years. Mm-hmm. And if you wait until October 1st to go into your woods, to hunt the same stand, you get there, it's like, oh yeah, I put it, by there's like this oak flat. Well, if they're not producing acorns, it's not going
it's
to be
a
any
waste.
good.
Yeah, I shouldn't say waste, but
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not going to be as eventful.
Yeah.
Usually. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they'll still probably use the travel area, but they don't have that reason to really want to go there right now.
yeah, and as long as you're not like wrecking through the property right now, I don't think, in my opinion, a month and a half away from season, quietly moving through the property just to scout essentially and
doing
see.
any
I don't
damage.
think you're doing any damage for opening weekend.
No, I agree.
I think we like to give it 2 to 3 weeks of totally untouched.
Yeah, I like to check my cameras, do like my last camera check, all that stuff. Last scouting, walk around the property, see what's what 2 weeks before.
Yeah. I think that's important to get that last bit of intel because, like, the most recent activity.
Yeah.
Cell cams are really, like, this is the first year any of us have ran cell cams, correct?
Yeah, I've never run them until this year.
So it's going to be interesting after a full season of using them what we think.
Yeah.
I think they're super convenient for checking cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing like I didn't think of at first, your cameras are it's like $10 a month to run these cameras. So it does get kind of expensive. But if you think about the fuel that you're saving to not have
and
to go
the
check
time.
them. Yeah, and the time too. Like, what's your time worth?
Yeah.
I
It's
honestly,
it's not like you go out and check cameras for 10 minutes. It's if you have 10 cameras out spread across a couple hundred acres, that's going to take you a long time to check them. It's a several hour job.
well, even so, you go and you collect all your cards. How long are you sitting at the computer going through all of those pictures?
Yeah.
Versus cell cams, they come, you can check them as they roll in, and it's
Yeah.
just a quick look, just to get your inventory. But I think it's a big time saver, and I honestly, depending on how far your property is away, is a money saver too. Really.
Yeah. Especially like if we had them up in New York, which we don't have any up in New York.
No,
right
because
now,
cell
but-
service is terrible.
Yeah, but if you have a spot that you hunt that's an hour away or more,
Even Tom and I, the one piece we hunt's 20, 25 minutes away.
Yeah.
With gas over $4 a gallon,
Yeah.
it adds up quick if you had to go out there every 2 weeks
Yeah.
versus, $10-20 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like you said, I didn't even think of it, but yeah, the time alone, you could be looking at another piece, putting food plots in, hanging stands.
Yeah.
There's other ways to
Anything.
use that time. Mm-hmm. So, what else you doing, Tommy, to get prep for season?
I'm going to start doing something I should have started doing a while ago, and that's shooting my bow.
Yeah, I've been kind of slacking on that.
I brought mine out the other day, but Frank and I shot up through March, and then I took April, May, June, July off, and then I have shot it in August. I shoot my bow pretty much nonstop from through hunting season. Frank and I jump
All
right
winter
into a
long.
winter league up until I think it's like March because it's right before.
No, it went into April.
Oh, does it go into April?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's like the second week of April.
oh yeah, because it's like right before turkey season.
Yeah.
So basically, I shoot my bow from, September or August all the way up to April. I do like to take the summer to, take a break and, jump back in it fresh.
Yeah.
But it is that time to start shooting your bow if you haven't
Yeah, I
already.
definitely need to get into that. I haven't pulled it out yet since April, so I need to get my head in the bucket, if you will.
Yeah. Another thing I've been doing, just getting prepped for season, is going over, trying to think basically equipment, making sure everything's safe, and if you have climbing sticks with movable standoffs, making sure that those bolts are tight. I think that's how you bend stuff and break stuff, is if it's loose. There's just too
Get
much
a little
play
bit
in
of
it.
play. Yep.
Yeah, so I inspect all my equipment, make sure that it's all tight. Lineman belts are not torn or anything. Just going over just
Basic
little
safety stuff.
Yeah, basic. Yeah, it's all safety related. Just checking gear, making sure it's all safe for the year, and I'm getting excited.
Yeah, before you know it, we'll be in the woods.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's
It'll be
Actually,
wild.
some guys are, 2 weeks out. Like they're
Yeah.
mid-September it starts, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's rolling in quick.
It is upon us.
But thanks for sticking around for 140 episodes. Going to be a whole bunch more. We're dangerously close to the 3rd anniversary of the Deer Camp series. So if you're a listener and you get a buck this year, get a hold of us. We'd love to have you on for the Deer Camp series. That's, from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. It's just hunting stories, just like Deer Camp.
Yeah.
That's what we
Haven't
want to
missed
do.
a week yet.
We haven't. Last year we did throw in an alligator hunt
Yes, we
in
did.
the mix.
We'll probably have to do that again this year because I plan on going again. So,
Spoiler alert.
oh man, something to look forward to.
But there's always that one guy at camp that did some other trip that he's going to talk about. So it's just we like have some beers and enjoy
Enjoy deer camp.
deer stories. I think that's one of my favorite parts about deer hunting is the stories that come with it.
Absolutely.
So you guys let us know. We'll have you on. It's gonna be a good time. But in the meantime, just make sure you guys are all getting outside.